Hey, everybody, welcome to the TFL Podcast. It is Divisional Week for the playoffs, the NFL playoffs, and we're here to talk DFS with Draftstars. I'm here with my good mate, Arch. How are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing very, very well, considering what happened last week.
So you got an different get-up today?
No.
You thought, didn't want to wear the Vikings gear, but, you know.
Yeah, I
still
forgot
got Moss
what
in the background. He's survived.
Legends can stay.
No
I actually forgotten that I got changed. But onward and upwards to the AFL season now. Calm the Crows. Now it's time for the rebuild to be over. So let's get on them.
It might take a little bit more time than just this year. But anyway, enough about the Crows. We can talk about that another time. We are here with Draftstars, so if you can sign up to Draftstars at bit.ly/join Draftstars. We also have our own Divisional Sunday and Divisional Monday $5 single entry contest. You can jump in at bit.ly/TFL Divisional Sunday and bit.ly/TFL Divisional Monday. Guys, we're on YouTube, so you're probably listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you are, give us a great review. But of course, come on over to YouTube and like and subscribe. And you can find us also on the socials at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at the TFL Podcast. And so thanks for joining us. If you are with us on YouTube this evening, chuck your comments in the chat and interact with us as we go by. I am keen for this weekend. We got some great games coming up, which is fantastic. So, is there anything we need to talk about beforehand? These are two crazy two-game slates. What's actually good is that there is a whole weekend slate. They're doing the $2 and $10 10-ups.
They forget about that last week, didn't they?
I don't think they did last week. No, that's right. But it's a great time to jump on the whole weekend slate as well. So I really enjoy those. They're good fun as well. Gives you more games to choose from as well. Anyway, let's go. Let's jump into our Sunday matchups for divisional round of the playoffs. Let's go.
Yeah! Ha, ha! Divisional round of preview time! With no Vikings!
No Vikings to be seen. That's for sure. All right, we're going to
Maybe we'll get a defense next year, mate. Maybe we'll get a defense.
Maybe you can get a quarterback. No. Kirk Cousins did okay.
I'll order the defense first.
Yeah. All right. We're going to start off with the AFC matchup for Sunday, and that is the 4-seed Jacksonville taking on the number 1 seed Kansas City. Kansas City are 8.5-point favorites here. There's over under a 52.5. They're expecting lots and lots of points, which is fantastic for us here playing DFS, because compare it to the next one, the over-under is a little bit less. So this is probably where people are going to head to this game. So I'm going to pull up here our Draftstars. Sorry, my mic falling down. Our Draftstars contest. Now, this is the whole weekend one, just to make it easier for me. But, of course, the prices are no different across the whole weekend or versus just the Sunday and the Monday. Anyway, let's talk about Jacksonville and Kansas City. Let's just go position by position here. Patrick Mahomes is a gun. We all know that. He's $18,000. He's priced appropriately. Now, to pay off on this price in a 2-game slate, even on a 4-game slate, you kind of need him. You don't need him to do as well as 2 times this price, but he is pretty expensive. And so we're thinking, who are we going to pair this guy up with? Obviously, we're going to think about guys like Kelsey and probably Juju. You might think that's where you're going to go, but Juju has been not very productive as of late anyway. But if I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes, this is playoff. You're going to get 100%, 110% out of Patrick Mahomes. And when I'm looking at things like the Jacksonville defense, well, the Jacksonville defense has actually stood up in the last month, and they are 5th at defending pass expected points added per play, and 7th in defending explosive passes. And so I'm looking at this going, okay, do I temper my expectations? And the reality is, we just say no. We don't temper our expectations because this is bloody Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
And we run with it. Like, they are killing it in really any which way they choose, their offense, they are 4th in total EPA per play. They're 7th in pass EPA per play, 4th in rushing EPA per play, which is interesting. But they are 2nd in pass rate over expectation, which is great for the quarterback. We want them to be passing the ball. We want them to be moving it through the air. So Patrick Mahomes, 100% in play. There's no question there whatsoever. Trevor Lawrence, he's picking up this questionable tag all the time, but ignore that. There's no real worry that he's not going to play. He came out last week, threw 4 picks in that first half. What the heck was that? And then he goes and throws 4 touchdowns for a come-behind win, which was incredible, but I don't know if we're going to see that again. So,
which one's the interceptions or the touchdown?
Oh, look, I'm thinking. I don't think we see 4 interceptions. I don't think we see 4 passing touchdowns. I think we see something in the middle. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to provide you with that ceiling that you need to pay off here in this kind of format. Really, if you look at what he's done over the last little while, yes, 4 touchdowns last week in the playoffs, which is fantastic. We know that old Trevor Lawrence is a playoff machine, whether he's in college, high school, or any of those experiences he's had. So what he brings to this next level is going to be interesting to see. What will we see an ascendancy here? But too often we see no or 1 passing touchdowns, and I just don't know if that's not going to get you there by any stretch. You need this guy to be passing 2 or 3 touchdowns to really take you and win the week. So Trevor Lawrence, I'm questionable of, but I'm looking here and seeing that Kansas City are 4th in defending pass EPA per play, which is very, very solid and makes me nervous. They are, however, 20th in rush EPA, defending rush EPA per play. So I'm looking at this going, let's go to running backs. Travis Etienne. There is a good opportunity here for Travis Etienne. If Jacksonville want to attack the weakness of Kansas City, they're going to give Etienne the ball a lot. We saw last week 100 rushing yards against the Chargers. 1 reception, whatever. Really, we need him to probably hit 100 yards and a touchdown, though, for him to pay off. That's what we're looking for here. So he's decently priced, though, at $12,670. I don't mind that. That's not too expensive for me at all. The Kansas City running backs are a crazy mob. Jerick McKinnon, you need him to be receiving the ball. Yes, he's got a great ceiling. When I think about what's happening, though, I'm looking at the Jacksonville defense, and like I said before, they're 3rd in defending the rush. The Jacksonville defense over the last month has actually been fantastic. Yep. And so when I think about Mahomes and this Kansas City team, I'm thinking about where should they attack, and what should they play to? They should play to their strengths. Their rushing game is not really their strength. Yes, they're doing well in EPA per play, but they're just not rushing the ball that much.
They kept Eckler to, 16 or 18 points, which seems like a lot, but not for Eckler in a playoff game. So
no, that's right. He was, with all the receptions and everything. So McKinnon and Pacheco, I'm probably avoiding here. I really just want to attack the passing game, so I'm going to avoid those guys. Wide receivers. The Jacksonville wide receivers are, once again, pretty nicely priced. So I think we'll be getting to them a lot with Christian Kirk, $13K. He's finally priced where he should be, let's be honest. Zay Jones, just under $10K, but has a great ceiling. Marvin Jones at $7K. Look, you're looking for him to just snag a touchdown and a couple of receptions. What he did last week is probably fine against the Chargers. But he'll sit there as a value play, and a value play that you know is going to get some volume, so that's not too bad. On the other side, though, because I think really, if you're going to stack Trevor Lawrence, you're going to play Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. They're your top 2 options here.
Yep.
And Evan Engram, we'll get to him in a sec. Marvin Jones is kind of like that. Let's just kind of throw him in for some, if you're going to play the micro.
Yeah, he's still running routes on 86% of dropbacks, though, Marvin Jones. So
no, he is. He's just not being picked. He's not just being favoured by old Trevor.
Yeah.
The other side, though, when I look at Kansas City here have a pretty nice spot. Juju, though, look, he was a 71% of routes last week, 71% of routes on the season, which is great. But his targets per route run of the season is still only 21%. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But nothing to write home about, nothing to rely on. Last week it was only 10. 2 weeks ago it was only 10%. What the heck's going on there? The guy that came in, though, 2 weeks ago and made a splash was Kadarius Toney. don't know if you want to read too much into Week 18, though, of course. But Kadarius Toney, he's a guy that can do things that other guys just can't. And so for someone who's 7,700, who has shown this year a couple of times that he can create some big plays and score touchdowns, look, I'd like to take my chance on him. I like Kadarius Toney's ceiling more than I like Marvin Jones. So for that $700 difference, I quite like throwing Toney in here. MVS, he's always on the field. He's always on the field. Is he getting targets? Just no, he's not. It's just ridiculous. I would have thought we'd get so many big plays this year out of MVS, but he's just not shown anything. Maybe the playoffs is where you find it.
What do you think of something like a Justin Watson just bobbing up for a touchdown just to ruin everyone else's stacks?
Exactly. That's right. So, look, I can't see MVS being highly rostered, but he could still pop. And like we said, Justin Watson, he's not out there for much, but he seems to get some big catches every now and then.
Yeah.
Which is surprising. So, that's where you're going, but it's low percentage stuff. Really, where I like to go in this game. Yeah. It's too spread out, for sure. Where we know it's going, though, is Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, goodness me, 93% route participation a couple of weeks ago, 83% of the season. On the season, he is earning a target on 27% of his routes. Fantastic. That's what we like to see. We know that the matchup here is fantastic. And guess what? In terms of schedule-adjusted points, we have got Jacksonville at 30th.
Yes.
I got it out.
We got there.
Got it out there. Actually, you know what? Just for the sake of our YouTube and other things, I'm just going to play this little graphic.
Oh, here we go.
Show me the money!
So, if you missed it, Travis Kelce is our premium player of the week here. He's coming up against Jacksonville, who are letting the third most PPR points per game to the tight end position. We know that Mahomes and Kelce have a bit of a mind meld, and especially in playoff time, this is where Kelce goes off. This is where Mahomes goes to who he knows is going to get down the field, score touchdowns, break tackles. It's Travis Kelce. This is their time. I can't see Jacksonville stopping this pair by any stretch. And at $16,840, he is a premium, but he's a premium I think that is worth paying down other spots in order to get up to. So Travis Kelce is our premium play of the week.
Love it, Ron.
There we go. Evan Engram, though, big fan. Big fan of Evan Engram. Seriously, Doug Peterson's working wonders with him. And I really think, like, looking at both of the, like, it's almost like I've got a Mahomes copy in some ways in terms of how Trevor Lawrence wants to play and where he's going. Evan Engram is turning into a safe receiver for Lawrence. So I really like Evan Engram as well. I'm not opposed at all to get different and play two tight ends. That's for sure. Anyway, so there we go. That's how I'm looking at this game. If I'm going to stack this game, then I'm probably stacking... Well, I'm stacking Mahomes for sure. I'm going to play him with Kelce. And if I want to get different, MVS and Juju or McKinnon, really, I want a full stack. If I'm playing Mahomes, I really want a full stack here. And I'll bring it back with Evan Engram. I'll play that double tight end. Really like that. ETN we talked about as just a one-off play. I like mini stacking him with Kelce. And if you really want to stack Trevor, I'm not sure if it's worth it, but Trevor and Engram, and then two of the wide receivers. Always like, this is the week. This is the week to do full on 4 stacks.
I think bringing it back with a couple pieces as well, go full game stack as well.
Yeah, could totally play Kelce, play Toney, throw him in there as well. Anyway, so there you go. That's how I'm seeing this game. Let's move on to the Giants at Philly, NFC East divisional game. Love it. Arch, take it away.
Yes, look, it feels like it's an eternity since we've talked about Philly properly. I don't know about you, Ron, but
it's true.
But mainly because we haven't had Hurts either playing a real game that we care about. So I thought I'd look at some of the stats rather than just look over the last 4 or 5 weeks that we normally do. I looked at the last 4 weeks with Hurts as QB just to remind ourselves of the offense with him at the helm rather than old Gardner. Last 4 weeks with Hurts, they are first in total EPA per play. They're first in rush EPA per play. In those two statistics, the Giants' defense is 27th and 31st. Hello, mismatch here.
Hello.
They're first in explosive rush percentage. The Giants are 30th in defending long rushes. Philadelphia first in pressure percentage. They are protecting and creating holes for the running game beautifully. They're first in points per game. New York Giants, they're middle of the road in defending points. So I think the last time they played was 44-22 or 48-22, something like that. So the over-under here of 48, I think it potentially is a bit low here. So considering what we've seen this game environment produce in the past. So, but Philadelphia offense, if it can just take some of what they had, I think this could get ugly and fast. So in those 4 weeks that Hurts played, he was either QB1 or QB2 each of those weeks as well.
Ooh,
and so
nice.
He's probably my favourite QB play on this slate, if not the weekend. He finishes the year as the QB3 in fantasy, and that's despite missing games. So, look, I think there's a big mismatch here. Hurts on the ground is, he had 77 yards and a rushing touchdown against the Giants last time he played them. And so I think, you've got a pretty high floor and out of this world ceiling, I guess, for Hurts. And so I think it's, with his salary at, smidge under 18K, I think it's worth paying this week. I think, it's the pay down options probably aren't as good. So that's our QB. Let's talk about maybe another little play.
Inconceivable.
And that's our value play of the week, Rowan, is Miles Sanders. He's 9.4 thousand. Look, and you might be thinking, well, he hasn't done too much of late. But the value is here this week. In week 14, he scored 31.5 Draftstars points with 144 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. For a play under 10K, there is unbelievable value here with such a mismatch to the Giants just giving up points, especially on the ground. This is the week for Miles Sanders, potentially with low ownership, just because the recent history is pretty poor, where he could potentially break the slate. So, value of the week, Miles Sanders.
Love it.
Happy with that, Ron?
Yeah,
I'm talking about your boys, so it's you know.
No, I think, look, Sanders should be the guy. I know there's a narrative around Boston Scott because 10 of his 18 career touchdowns have come against the Giants. They call him the Giant Killer. I love it. But it's still Sanders. Surely you trust your number one guy in the playoffs, so Sanders should have a good load of opportunity here.
Yep. Really, you're looking at this team, and this is the reason why I love stacking Philly is the condensed target tree. Like, it's not a Kansas City where there's about 10 guys named Joe under 8K that we can choose from who could be relevant. It's really AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and maybe Dallas Goedert. That's it. Don't go anywhere else. I'm not even convinced about Goedert this week, but how nice is it seeing Devonta Smith just really starting to flourish, Rowan? Like,
so good.
So many question marks. Him heading
just
into
opens
the
up
pros
our
with his
offense.
size.
Opens up Philly's
great.
offense big time.
Yeah, and Draftstars probably could have just priced him at 14K, 13,970.
Don't doubt the algorithm, Arch.
I'm going to write a letter. These are the two guys that you're running with your stacks, but double stack if you want. Potential. Maybe I'm leaning towards a single stack just because I think they're going to have so much work on the ground against the Giants. So that's clearly where you're going to attack them. So rushing touchdowns for, Sanders and Hurts. Maybe, only one guy gets there.
Yeah.
I think everyone's loving Devonta Smith at the moment. He's cheaper. The value's there. So I'm going to be all on AJ Brown this week because, the talent's there in moments of pressure when really time counts. You're going to go to experience. You're going to go to the big dog in AJ Brown. So, I'm paying up this week for him. If I feel that the field's all over Devonta Smith, give me AJ Brown.
No, fair call. I think that's the right place to go for sure.
Yep.
You mentioned got it quickly, but I quite got it this week. I know, what was it last time he played the Giants? Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was... He didn't play Giants that second time when it was a big game. They eased him back and he got 6 of 46. But Giants are 25th against tight ends in PPR scoring. They're giving up 14 points.
To me, I'd rather save $1,200 and go down to Ingram or pay up properly for Kelsey. I feel that Goddett's in no man's land with his pricing and just doesn't want... I don't want to play him.
No, I can understand it.
Let's go on the other side, shall we?
Let's do it.
To the jerks that are the Giants.
This man's been on a tear, though.
Yeah. It's well done. I don't even want to talk about him.
They're better than you think. I think that's the reality. They're better than you think.
It's annoying. Like, I talk about a coaching masterclass, isn't it? Like, the way to get the most out of your players. Anyway, their last 5 weeks, they're 5th in total EPA per play. However, they're facing a Philly defense that are top 3rd in pretty much every defensive category. Like, they're a solid defense. Maybe not, top 5 in any of them, but they're definitely up there across the board. Like, there's no glaring holes. Giants are 2nd in rush EPA per play. So a lot of stuff going on the ground. 4th in explosive rush as well. But also 6th in pass rate over expectation. So chucking the ball a lot as well. So nice little recipe there for a lot of fantasy points. However, when they last faced each other, old Danny Dimes was held to 169 yards in the air and only 1 touchdown. That was week 14, I should say. And so we're looking at... Where are we? Yeah. So you get 19.36 points. Doesn't kill you, but that's not going to win you a GPP when you cost 14K. Have things just started clicking since there? Maybe. But we're looking at the last the last game in Minnesota in a dome, a little bit different than playing at Philadelphia. And I just wonder if the occasion's going to get to him and he won't be able to produce what he's been able to do in the last 2 weeks. But
didn't get to him last week against Minnesota away.
Yeah, like I said, I was in a dome. Like the elements, that's more.
Sure, I hear you.
Winter in Philadelphia is a little bit different than inside a dome. So, and Philly fans are just horrible humans. So that's something else you want to deal with.
Peace off.
I'll go to Philadelphia and you tell me otherwise.
Anyway, let's talk about Saquon Barkley because he's great.
Yeah. All right, he's great. Play him. How explosive is he looking? Like,
he looks fit.
The offense is going to heavily rely on him as it should, as it always will. So definitely be throwing him into a lot of your lineups. I don't care what the matchup, whatever. Like the volume, I think is going to be there. Talk about wide receivers. Old Hodgins. I've practiced saying his name over the weekend. Hodgins. He's clearly jumped over old Richie James in the pecking order.
Yes.
So I thought he had quite high ownership last weekend, and I'd expect that to continue even with the price bump that he's got. I'd be saying he'd be 30 to 40% owned this weekend.
I think it was 44% or 42% last week.
Yeah.
in his micro. So
I'd say it'd be around that again.
It'll be the same.
Yeah. So maybe Richie James is a nice little, leverage play here. Because we've seen him be able to do well, and he did, in week 14, he almost had 20 points himself in that game. So Richie James is obviously there. Slayton played more passing snaps than him though last week. So Slayton's also in play, but maybe just didn't do as much with those routes.
You really got to ignore the 0 against Philly because they rested so many of their starters.
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm not even looking at that week. Go to week 14 if you want to actually see.
That's right. Advice to our listeners. That's really what I'm saying.
Yep. Bellinger might, if you're looking for a tight end from Giants land, I said last week it's a bit of a shit show who you want to pick, but Bellinger seems to maybe be edging out on top here. He's 76% route participation. 5K if you need it to get your lineup built, that's a okay punt play. You never know what could happen, but still pretty thin.
Crunchers will like him because he's so cheap. So I think you just need to be wary when you're crunching lineups if you're using any cruncher. That's for sure. How are we stacking this game, Arch?
Yeah, look, I'm going Hurts with a Sanders and Smith. That's probably my favourite trio of Philly guys. I think that might be a little bit different, just throwing in Sanders into there. And I'll bring it back with Saquon or one of the wide receivers, probably a Richie James, just to be off the Hodgins chalk. Yeah. But love Sanders and Philly defense all over the place as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. All right, let's move on to our second AFC matchup. That's Cincinnati taking on Buffalo. It's the rematch that we all want, and it's going to be a phenomenal game. Really, I just love what's going on here. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals are number 1 in pass percentage and number 1 in pass rate over expected, and I am excited for that. Now, Peachy, I know you're a Philly fan, just like me. I do think you should play some Giants, though. Even if you think they're getting smoked. Cincinnati and Buffalo, though, is a place that I will be attacking this Monday slate with great tenacity because, like tenacity. I said, that's it. I'm a big fan of the Bengals. I really like what they're producing. I think they had a bit of a rough slog against Baltimore, but that was going to happen because they played Baltimore 2 weeks in a row. They're finally going to come out here against Buffalo and be able to execute, I think, this game plan that they were on 3 weeks ago that they couldn't push out there. They looked really good in that first 9 minutes. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what they can bring. When I'm thinking about team v team here, Cincinnati offense, over the past 4 weeks, they've been 16th in total EPA per play, 15th in pass EPA per play, 24th in rush EPA per play. It's kind of whatever. It's really middle of the road. And the Buffalo defense has really stood up, second in defending total EPA per play, 6th against the pass, 2nd against the rush. But the thing that sticks with me here is the Cincinnati's pass percentage and pass rate over expectation. They're number 1. They're 4th in dealing with pressure over the last month. They're 11th in points per game, whereas Buffalo are 21st in allowing points per game. There is an opportunity here for the Bengals to push down the ground. So I'm really excited for this particular matchup with Cincinnati. So Jamar Chase. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, he's 15K. He can hit 30s. He probably needs to pass for 3 or 4 touchdowns for you to get that 30, though. He's been a little behind in terms of passing yards for the last few weeks. He hasn't hit 300 often. But if Buffalo are going to get up here and they're going to force the pass, then I don't doubt this team. I don't doubt this team. So Joe Burrow is probably, I think, totally fine. He doesn't, like, the numbers here don't necessarily look great, but I think this is playoff Burrow, and I think they're going to shake off the cobwebs that Baltimore put on them last week. Running back,
To me, I just think if this game's going to get there, it's because Cincinnati pushed Buffalo, right?
100%.
And so if that's happening, I think I'm all over Burrow. If you think rather than Allen.
Yeah, I think that's the key difference of 3K is big. And Allen last week against Miami, he put up 27, which is great, but I feel like he should have done better. He has looked shaky at times this season, old Josh Allen. And the Bengals' defense has been so good of late as well. 4th in defending total EPA per play, 4th in defending the rush, 10th in defending the pass. Like they're really holding up. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the Cincinnati defense, really, in this game. And I think the Cincinnati defense, if we're going to talk DSTs real quick, I actually think a sneaky chance to have some fun here. That's for sure. So Josh Allen is good. We know what he can bring. We know he's got a great rushing floor. But I don't know. There's something. Yeah, I agree. If this game's going to get there, then I think Burrow goes off. I really think Burrow goes off. He's got 40-point games in him for sure. Running backs, Joe Mixon, he hasn't really hit the heights I mean, since that 58 point game, which we saw, which was nuts, 5 touchdowns. But I don't know. He is the guy. Like, they're not going anywhere else. I think
But
the thing that
they're
limits
not beating
him,
Buffalo with Mixon.
No, that's true. The thing that limits is, of course, the pass percentage that Cincinnati go with. And just not, even if they are getting the ball to Mixon, it's really short, and his yards like per reception are super low. So Mixon is, I think he's a limited ceiling guy here against Buffalo. But I also really don't like Singletary or Cook.
I don't mind Cook at 9K.
Yeah, well, Singletary's there as well at 9K. Neither of these guys excite me. Cook maybe just because he has been getting a couple more catches, but I don't know, they're both touchdown reliant. That's the reality. And they both can get vultured by Josh Allen.
Yes.
Wide receivers is where it's at. Jamar Chase is a big play guy for a big occasion, and this is the occasion. This really is the occasion. So, look, he's priced up at 18.5, but he can go off for those 30-point games, and if he hits 30-plus points again, then I think he's given you a fantastic result. So let's go with old Jamar Chase here as probably the number one Cincinnati receiver that I'm a fan of. T. Higgins, perpetually underrated, has a ceiling, not as high as Jamar Chase, but enough to pay off that $13,000 price tag. That is for sure. So T. Higgins deserves to be in your player pool.
Oh yeah.
Tyler Boyd, he was the one who caught that touchdown at the beginning of the Buffalo game. He's 7.5K. He plays better with Chase on the field. He plays the slot well. And so because of that, I don't mind him. I don't mind him in those cheap play spots.
Well, at the end of the day, you're playing Burrow with probably 3 pass catches, right? If you think Burrow's going to get there. And Boyd's Chase, someone that is nice to just throw into most of them.
For sure. I think it's pretty much always Chase and Higgins, and then you're going Boyd or Hurst. That's really where you're going here. If you're going to play with Buffalo, which you should, then Stephon Diggs, he's come good the last 2 weeks. After this kind of pitiful 3-week patch, he's gone, no, I know how to play football again. Pretty much all of his damage against Miami came in the first half. Like, there is more to his game that he can bring, which is exciting. So he's going to want to be like facing off here with Jamar. I reckon there's a pride thing going on here. But Stephon Diggs came back and has shown that he is the number one receiver on this team, which is great. I don't know if you can get all 3 of these, Chase, Diggs, and Higgins, in a lineup. That's where it gets
it's
iffy.
Gonna be tough.
So I'm liking Gabe Davis. So Cincinnati defense, one thing they're doing is they're 17th in terms of allowing explosive passes. And we all know that Gabe Davis can be the king of explosive passes. And last week against Miami, 6 of 113 and 1. It's a beautiful, beautiful stat line that if we can see anything like that against Cincinnati, then let's go. Let's do that. So I'm keen on him. These other guys down in the 6K range, I'm just kind of avoiding. Cole Beasley, good on him. Got a touchdown, the old man. Isaiah McKenzie, he's on the way out, it seems. So, look, really, if you're playing this game with the wide receivers, you're sticking to those top 5, and I'm not going anywhere else. Tight ends, really like Dawson Knox. He is a friend of Josh Allen's in the end zone, and that's what I'm always looking for. Hayden Hurst, 6.95, just be 7K. Hey, Arch, just 7, right? Just round it up. Anyway, he's...
At least it's on 50. I can handle 950 is a nicer number.
Sure.
Others.
He was 1 yard out of a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
Or Hayden Hurst fell down at the goal line and had a fumble. So that 6.5 could have easily been 13 points. So there is room here for Hayden Hurst to have a day as well. Look, if I'm stacking this game, I love going Burrow and 3 pass catches. That's dead simple. And bring back with Diggs or Davis. And if you're going Allen, because of his rushing, I'm just happy to go Allen and 2 pass catches. So that would probably be Davis, Knox, or Diggs. And then I'll bring it back with Jamar Chase. and I'll leave it there. That's where I'm sitting with this one. That's it. Let's go on to the NFC, the last game of the round. Let's go.
Yes, Dallas at San Francisco. 3-point favourites, the old 49ers, over under a 45, the lowest of all game totals on the weekend. So people might be a little bit weary about this game, but I think there's a few ways this could go. And mainly is because Dallas, they pace the ball up. They like to play fast, and they could just be forced into a situation where, hey, on the ground, they're not going to be able to do the things that have been able to do this week against San Francisco. So Dak will be having to air it out a fair bit. And so that excites me that this game could actually produce for us, even though the game total might suggest otherwise. So before we go on to Dallas, let's go back to the favourites in the 49ers. Man, Brock Purdy doing good things. I mean, I don't know, Ron, this team, it's going to be a hard team to beat. Just the weapons on the offense are outrageous. Getting Debo back is just like a cheating, I think. It's just not fair for everyone else to have such a strong offense. And so, Purdy, 37.9 points last week. How's that? And
I mean, it was against Seattle. Let's not just go crazy.
No, but he even looked a little shaky as well. But yeah, so look, I'd say your floor is maybe you book in 20 to 25 points for him, I think, at minimum here. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't hit 20.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to temper expectations here.
Yeah, look, I'm going to play optimist and say that this game goes off. All right, so you'll need to do some producing against Dallas. Look, 49ers, they are first in EPA per play. That's total pass and rush over the last 5 weeks. Sorry, we just got a little intruder. What else have we got? We get their first in points per game. They're second in explosive rush percentage. This offense is pairing. But Dallas have been better against the run, so Purdy is in play once again. I think he's going to throw the ball up a bunch. 14K, great value. Last week we saw Mitchell at 8K turn out to be a decent play, Ron, and we were on that.
He was. Yeah. Happy.
And so pairing him with CMC, I think, is, again, rinse, repeat. This is a way to play this slate, get some savings, and the offense uses both of these players. Mitchell's a good player, so just CMC's there, don't worry about it. So CMC, obviously, like pretty close to being one of our primo game players of the week again, though. Like I'm going to gobble up that chalk. I don't care. He'll be 70% owned, and I don't care. Like, I'll be on it.
I actually don't think he will. But I'd be happy to play.
Well, what was he? I think he was like that. What was he, 60, 70% last week?
Oh, he wasn't that much, was he?
Oh, I reckon it was pretty high. You look that up while I keep talking, but you don't want to do that. I get it.
Keep tabs on this. I can't
go. All you do is go back and complete it.
Yeah, I know how to do it. You know.
All right. Sorry, I just thought I was talking to someone who didn't know his way around Draftstars.
I am aware.
What are we talking about? 49ers. How good is it seeing Debo? Being back. It's like him and CMC's like they're the two X factors on your team that you can't defend. Like, it's not fair. And so how good is that going to just seeing him just flourish again? And let's just not count out our good friend Ayuk. Like, Ayuk is still there. He's still running a ton of routes. He was on the field for 97% of passing work last week. And so, to me, Rowan, the sneaky leverage players, everyone's going to be on CMC. Everyone loves Debo and loves that story. Don't forget about old 10K Ayuk.
I reckon it's too cheap. I think.
Yes. I don't know. I think people will be going to Debo, but I think, you look at Ayuk, you think, with Debo back, he hasn't, really got over 10 points, but I think he's definitely in play here.
Sure. And yes, you're right, 75%.
Thank you.
Christian McCaffrey last week. My bad.
Thank you. Glad you worked it out. I texted you the instructions.
I'll go away.
Kittle as well, Rowan.
Yeah, look. Do we want to hit the button?
Oh yeah, I forgot about this one. You got something to say about Kittle?
Yeah, look, I'll call this one if you want. That's fine.
All right, do
I'll
this.
Say the thing.
Declare bankruptcy!
Very much akin to how Arch faded Austin Eckler last week, and I was all grimacy. Well, I'm going to fade George Kittle this weekend. He's priced at 11,000, and given the situation here, I'm not with Debo being back, and like you're pumping up Ayuk, and how good CMC and Elijah Mitchell are, and with old Dallas being the hardest team to score against in terms of tight ends and PPR fantasy points, I think Kittle's going to struggle this week, and they might find their avenues to the end zone through other means than old George. Yes, he's a yards after the catch machine, I agree, but at that price and who else is around him, I am happy to go elsewhere. So that might just be me here, but he's my fade of the week.
Love it. Rowan, I'm going to back you. Not like you didn't back me last week.
Okay.
Just want to talk to you about just this game in terms of stacking the San Francisco side.
Sure.
To me, I probably, like, if you look at Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle as the main pass catchers, I probably only want to play one of those guys in each of my lineups, not two. Mainly because I'm probably going to have CMC in it as well. And to me, it's just I think even when all things are going well, it's hard for two of those three to get there.
I agree. Like, I think we have to think of Seattle's defense as a vastly different, way inferior defense than what Dallas can bring.
Yes, and in that environment, Kittle only got 7.7 points. Ayuk still was sub 10. It was only Debo that got there, with CMC doing a lot of heavy lifting as well. So I think maybe not double stacking pass catchers on this side.
Fair call.
I mean, because the best case scenario is it probably is a long shot, and the worst case scenario is that you're left holding the bag, and if you only play one of the guys, at least your lineup still might stand a chance. What about old mate Juwan Jennings? He almost scored a touchdown last week. Played 45% of pass snaps, and when he's on the field, he's earning a target on 36% of his routes. To me, at 6K, he's someone I want to sprinkle in.
Yeah, I like Jennings for what he could be. He's full of potential, this guy.
Yeah, well, it's what you need to at 6K. If you can get him a couple catches and a touchdown, that helps your lineup
for sure
get to the top. Dallas. Shall we talk about Dallas?
Let's talk about Dallas. I'll let you talk about Dallas for a second while I go and pat my baby's butt for a minute, and hopefully I'll be back in just a second. But talk about Dallas while I'm away.
Yeah, this could be interesting.
This could be interesting.
Yeah, so look, Dallas, they're fourth in total and pass EPA per play over the last 5 weeks. On the season, they're second in neutral game script pace of play. They're getting lots of snaps out there. So that is a recipe to creating lots of fantasy points. They're second in points per game. On the flip side, that's 22nd in rush EPA per play. They haven't been that efficient and effective on the ground. And San Francisco, they're fourth defensively in rush EPA per play. And in fact, they are giving up the fourth fewest schedule-adjusted fantasy points to the running back position. So to me, this team has relied a lot on Pollard and Zeke, that tandem, and I just don't like any of those guys this week. Look, Zeke's priced down at 9K. That's touchdown or bust there, and I just don't see it happening. And Pollard's just going to have it. It's just going to be too much for him, I think, this week. So I'm out on the running game here, and because I don't feel that that's going to really get there, I think they're really going to have to air it out a fair bit. And so we saw last week, Schultz come in at almost got 100 yards in the air, 28.5 Draftstars points, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Can he do that again? Maybe not, but I think, easily can get 60, 70 yards and a touchdown. He's seems to be their second preferred option in the passing game, behind Lamb, and obviously CeeDee Lamb. If you're thinking Dallas is going to throw up, obviously CeeDee Lamb is in play here. And San Francisco, they're 26th in schedule adjusted fantasy points to the wide receivers, so they are giving fantasy points away into that position. So play the passing game if you're playing Dallas this week. I don't mind that at all. Dak might just be the lowest rostered quarterback on the Monday slate. And if that's the case, I think that's a great GPP play for Dak. If you think that this game, they stuff the run, Dak has to go through the air, maybe scrambles a bit as well, escapes from pressure, and he gets there with maybe, 40, 50 yards on the ground, maybe gets a rushing touchdown, but more importantly, throws for, over 250 yards and a couple touchdowns through the air as well. And so I really like the passing game here. And I'm going to probably... if I look at the 10 entry mini that's on this slate, I might even throw 4 or 5 Dak lineups in there just because I think it's a way to get different. And if they go off, like we saw last week, Dak still has that ceiling, 39.6 points last week. So I like that for a 15K quarterback, that ceiling opportunity there. So if I'm playing Dak, I'm playing at least 2 Dallas pass catchers. And so Lamb and Schultz. And Gallup seems to be third in target, the third target in Dallas at the moment. Here we are with old Rosa.
Here we are. The kid was awake.
It doesn't look like he's going to go to sleep.
No, well, not with his crying. That was happening just before. he's a real dozy, though. And I know that my wife will be home very shortly, so...
she should be home by now, shouldn't she?
Sleep. He's, I think, just a stunned mullet in front of the lights. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. I was just saying, Rowan, that I'm thinking the ground game gets stuffed here for Dallas, and so they're resorting through the air. And so if you're playing Dak, you're playing at least 2 pass catchers.
Yep.
And Lamb and Schultz are my 2 top options, and that's what we saw last week. Gallup, I don't know what's going on with Gallup, Rowan.
He's interesting.
Here's something for you to just mull over, and you could tell me if I'm galaxy braining it or not.
No, sure.
What about old mate T.Y. Hilton?
Look, he's getting looks, isn't he? He's on the
field. Is he coming in and maybe just supplanting old Gallup in the pecking order just for playoffs? Go the season head, 38% route participation last week. Gallup went down to 82.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something in me. If I'm looking at, all right, everyone, the obvious players is Schultz and Lamb. If I want to get different, and who could pop up for a touchdown or 2 with not much usage? T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see T.Y. being a member of this crew. Yeah.
Again, throw him in as another 6K guy with Juwan Jennings, who potentially can just get this happening. Someone's come to the rescue.
Away he goes.
Oh,
away he goes.
Just missed the timing there.
I know. Sorry.
Anyone listening to the audio pod, Rowan brought in an infant and then just threw away an infant.
That's it. Way up.
Watch the YouTube for context.
Yeah, that's right. When the wife's away, the boys play. That's how we roll.
So my favorite stack.
Can I bring one thing up to you? One thing I noticed with the Gallup stuff, right? And I might backtrack here a little bit. With the Gallup stuff, Gallup is often a bit of he's a contested catch guy, right? And so on third downs, that's when they kind of go to him. I've noticed that a little bit. That Cowboys like to use him in those big kind of contested catch moments where they need to push down the field a bit. San Francisco, interestingly enough, I was looking at some of there was some tweets, and someone was comparing DVOA, defensive pass DVOA, for San Francisco on different downs. And first and second down, phenomenal defensive DVOA. But the third downs, some reason, San Francisco dropped to, I think it's in the late 20s in terms of rank of third down. So now you're talking about galaxy braining. This might be a bit of a galaxy brain thing, but it's just something I've noticed in the trend of how they are using Michael Gallup. And so potentially, if San Francisco are really that poor on third downs, they're in terms of defending the pass, then I actually think Michael Gallup's probably a sneaky value that I quite like this week.
Yeah. I mean, the saving grace is his price, 8.4K, so you don't mind just throwing that in. But
it's a wonderful price.
Yeah. But in terms of some red zone sort of sniping, I'll just got my little eye on old TY.
No, don't hate it either.
Stacking. Let's stack this game. If you've missed it, but I'm on the Dak side here, Rowan. I'm thinking if this game environment's going to go off,
San Francisco are too good against the run, so no, I agree with you 100%.
So Dak with Lamb and Schultz and TY is probably how I'm going to go 4 pieces here. Get that salary relief with TY. That helps the rest of your lineup. And the other guys aren't too, they're pretty reasonably priced. And as I said earlier, I suspect Dak will be the lowest rostered quarterback on the slate.
Really? Yeah, that makes sense. That's great leverage spot, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like it.
I'll bring it back with CMC and one of the pass catchers. I'll bring it back with 2 49ers as well.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Be interesting to see how that lineup feels with CMC in there with those guys in terms of salary. But maybe you end up having to go Ayuk or Jennings.
Yeah.
You probably don't want 2 6K guys, but hey, if it goes off, goes off.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, let's build a lineup here. Let's build 2. We'll build 2. Firstly, we'll build a lineup from the Sunday games.
Yep.
I am a big fan of actually going. Look, I actually really like going Daniel Jones, but I know it's risky. So let's just go with the Jalen Hurts.
I was about to leave.
And let's do what you said. Let's go Sanders and Devonta Smith.
Yep.
And that way, bring back with Barkley?
Yep. You could go maybe someone else as well on the Giants, or you want to see where else we can go first?
No, I'm happy to go. Happy to look at this spot. I think tight end is always tricky. I guess we want to push for Kelsey, but if we do that, then we're left with some really
maybe Ingram.
cheap guys that we have to push for.
Yeah.
So let's just fill in that defense. I think you can go the Kansas City defense here against old Trevor. So that leaves us with only 6.5K per player. So it means I have to go down here. It means I have to go into this ugly spot,
which we can't even afford anyway.
No, that's right.
So there's no 6K guys. So
let's get rid. Maybe let's not go Barkley. Let's say that Philly run it up, and so you're left going with Hodgins and Richie James. They have to push through these guys.
So who are we left in running back land in this range now?
ETN? But even then, that's ugly.
No, then we can't make that work either. No, maybe just Kelsey just doesn't work in this build.
Possibly.
Go
do
Ingram.
You throw in... I really like Ingram, so he makes it cheap.
Yep.
And then you could go Juju. I actually don't hate putting Goddard into the stack.
Or Zay Jones.
Yeah.
Or is that too much Jacksonville?
Potentially a little bit with the Chiefs defense. If we really like this, then probably you want to throw over to the Philly D.
Yeah.
Zay Jones can become, I don't know, Juju. There's an idea. There's an idea. Maybe let's just leave it like that. Now let's build another one.
Yeah. Didn't love that one, I'll be honest.
No, I honestly think that
with this one for a bit.
That's going to be a hard day to really get a lineup you're happy with because the cheap options don't feel nice at all. But if we are looking at this day, actually, let's do the Prescott.
The Monday slate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to go Dak?
Yeah, I actually really liked what you said with Lamb and TY and Schultz. I like any stack that can solve my tight end issue.
Yes.
That's the reality. We're left with 10K here.
I mean, we could go double tight end as well. Like, I don't mind a Hurst. I feel like they're trying to work him more into the offense. And if people are on...
You can play this in this way, couldn't you? You could go, Dallas have to pass, and Cincinnati love to pass. So we could play a Hurst here as well. I don't hate that. Let's just fill in Hurst into the tight end of flex can become old Schultzy. Bengals.
Yeah.
D?
Yep,
I don't
definitely.
hate that. Just for salary relief even.
Yeah, and like you said, Allen's shown he can have some wobbles at times and could easily turn it over.
A few picks every now and then.
Yeah, can we fit in Chase?
Yes, I think we can.
But not CMC.
No. All right, let's move Chase out. I'd honestly, with this, let's go Ayuk. Have someone from San Francisco moving around. And you can throw Mixon in there.
Yeah, that's great leverage because that goes against the Cincinnati, passing attack.
There's not going to be many lineups like this at all.
No, I like that one.
That's a real.
That could win.
That could win. 100%.
Put that in the TFL one right now. Which you won last week, Rowan.
I did win the TFL.
Finally, one of us win our own contest.
That's it. And that same lineup won me the micro as well.
Yes, well done.
It's worth hand building every now and then, everybody. Alrighty.
All right. Let's get out of here.
Let's do it. Everybody, enjoy this. It's going to be great games. Like, I can't wait for the actual games of this. It's going to be a fantastic divisional round, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Arch, you looking forward to it?
Absolutely, as always.
As always. May your DFS lineups go well, everybody. We will catch you next week for conference finals. Let's go.